how to deal with the frustration of recovery. Look, recovery is not easy. It's not overnight. And the truth is that recovery is often an up and down affair. It can feel like it's 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. And for someone who's trying to get out of this and going back to living, it can be quite frustrating. How do you know if you're doing things right? How do you know if this isn't a setback? How do you deal with the overall ups and downs with recovery? It's so easy to get demoralized and frustrated by this. What I want to talk to you about in this video is really how to overcome the frustration, how to really monitor your progress with recovery, and more importantly, by the end of the video, I'll tell you exactly what's the fastest and easiest way to fully overcome so that you don't have to deal with these frustrations. So pay attention. So the truth is this, during my whole recovery journey, I had different frustrations. So a lot of my frustrations were when I first started focusing on recovery was, okay, well, are these feelings ever gonna go away? Because I was having consistently bad days. I mean, I was having physical symptoms nonstop. I was having intrusive thoughts nonstop. You know, some people have ups and downs. I did have somewhat okay days, but most of the days always sucked. And so my biggest frustration was, are the days ever gonna get good? And then what happened is that my frustration, as I started making progress, my second frustration was, okay, I'm making progress, but what if it stops? What if I hit a plateau? And so that was my next frustration. Then my third frustration was, okay, I'm clearly making progress. Maybe I can get out of this. Yeah, but what if I fall back in? What happens if I thought I was gonna come out and I ended up falling back in? And the truth is that during recovery, honestly, you're gonna have different levels of frustrations. It's just part of the recovery journey. The truth is that you want the frustrations to be more higher value. You wanna have higher value problems. You wanna have better problems. You wanna have better frustrations, right? It's better to have some good days and bad days than no good days at all. It's better to be coming out of it and being concerned about falling back in than never coming out of it altogether. Now, here is honestly the truth before you get concerned. Every frustration I had was completely demystified. It was totally untrue. The truth was I was able to fully come out of it. All my symptoms went away. Every single symptom that I had when I was struggling with anxiety ended up going away. And no, I never have this concern that I'll ever fall back into the cycle. So the first thing to understand is that frustrations are part of the recovery journey. That being said, you can really minimize a lot of these frustrations. Now, the second frustration has to deal with the ups and downs of recovery, which is some days you'll feel great, some days you'll feel bad. Well, where are you on recovery? And the truth is the best way to really overcome this is not really looking at your anxiety day by day. The truth is that when you're struggling with anxiety, you become very hyper-focused on how you're feeling nonstop. The first most important thing is really having a strategy that works, really focusing on long-term freedom, not short-term comfort, not just based on coping, getting this problem fixed once and for all. And so if you really want to know a little bit more about how do you really get out of this, how do you understand the mechanics, how do you really have a strategy, what I'll do is I'll put a link down below. This is a link to the strategy that I use to fully overcome, and exactly the stuff that I use for my clients to fully overcome. We use the exact same strategy. This isn't something we read in a book and we're like, oh, this is how you overcome. All of our lives depended on it. If this hadn't worked for me, I'd still be stuck in the cycle. Same with my clients. And so this isn't really focused more on technique. It's more focused on if you can understand a few principles, really stick to the strategy, you'll get out. We don't really care about what works and what doesn't. We really are interested on really honing down what works. We don't have a prejudice to what works and what doesn't. So if that's you, hit the link down below. The report is absolutely free. I don't charge people for it. These are the exact same steps that I use with my clients. And the reason why I've written this out is because when I was struggling with this, I dealt with a lot of frustrations. And so I feel like if I can minimize a lot of the frustrations for a lot of individuals, that'd be key. You know, I feel like as someone who has recovered, you do have a certain responsibility to help others that are going through something similar. So that link is down for you. It's absolutely free. Enjoy it. Definitely check it out. So how do you deal with the frustrations of it, right? Once you understand the mechanics of anxiety, anxiety is kind of an up and down affair. So how do you really deal with the frustrations of overcoming? Well, once you understand what's happening, it's very important to recognize that you are naturally very hyper-focused on your symptoms, right? Like if a symptom is there, it's kind of a bad day for you. If the symptoms are really strong, it's a very bad day. If the symptoms aren't there, it's not as bad of a day. But really focusing on when you're dealing with the ups and downs of recovery, don't look at it day by day. A better approach is to look at the trends. Now, the truth is, even with my recovery, once even I was objectively making progress, I would still sometimes question it. Am I making progress? Am I not? And so the truth is that I did notice though, that overall my days would get better. Sure, maybe my day right now isn't as good as it used to be, or it reminds me of the older days, but I did notice that I was having better days. That's exactly how recovery looks like. It's not like the days just get better and better and better. The truth is, it is an up and down affair. So like an average day before was, I'd have a bad day, bad day, bad day, good day, okay day, bad day, bad day, bad day, right? Then as I was getting better, I started noticing, okay, I have a bad day, I've had 2 good days, then I'd have an okay day, then I'd have 3 bad days, then I'd have 4 good days. So even though I was having good and bad days, the trend was that I was making progress. So you really have to look at it from a long view, focus more on trends. Don't focus on day by day, because what happens is that when the days are good, you're fine. It's easy to accept. But when the days are rough, you're like, oh no, it's there. Maybe, did I do something wrong? Do I need to fix it? And then people kind of sabotage their own recovery. So really focus on trends when it comes to recovery. Don't look at it day by day. Now, the last thing I will mention, one of the most critical things I see when I'm helping people fully overcome, and it was a mistake I made constantly, which was I would determine how my progress was based on how I felt at the moment. Here's the truth. Oftentimes when I'm asking people, how do you feel at the moment? Well, like with my clients, the individuals that I'm helping fully overcome, if they're telling me that their anxiety is really high, I know they're gonna tell me their whole week was bad. And if they tell me, oh, Shaan, like the anxiety is lifting, I know naturally they're gonna tell me their whole week was good. But the truth is that it's not very objective. What we do, not just with anxiety, but in general, is oftentimes we'll use how we feel in the moment and project that in the past and the future. So if your anxiety is really high right now, even though you may have objectively made progress, it's hard to see that because you don't feel good right now. So when you're not feeling good right now, when you're looking at the past, it's kind of cluttered with this feeling that you have right now. So if you don't feel good, if you look, oh, well, I haven't made any progress, well, you're really determining that based on how you feel right now. So it is really important to recognize that we do this as humans, that if you feel a certain way, you'll project that into the past and the future. So it's really important to really monitor your progress objectively the best you can. One of the ways that I really focused on objectively monitoring my progress was I noticed certain symptoms were dying down. Even though they were there, they weren't as strong and they didn't bug me as much. And then the other thing was I started going back to living. I was actually agoraphobic, meaning I couldn't leave my house. For almost a solid year, I didn't leave my house. And so I remember I started leaving my house, I started hanging out with friends, I started working, and then sometimes I would have a really bad setback and I'm like, am I even making any progress? And then you'd look back and you're like, Shaan, like you're working, like you're hanging out with friends before you were back at home. So I would use those metrics to really determine, okay, well, I'm clearly making progress. I'm probably just dealing with a really bad setback right now. And I would just focus on the right steps to overcome the setbacks. And then when my days were good, I would oftentimes think, okay, well, now I'm making progress. So here's what I'll say. The best way to really overcome the frustrations of recovery is honestly by someone guiding you step by step. Recovering on your own is very difficult. As someone who kind of had to do it on his own, it's very difficult. I made a lot of mistakes. I really slowed down my own recovery, and recovery took a lot longer than it should have. I didn't even know if recovery is possible, so I was just blessed that recovery even happened. But I always find the fastest way to recovery is by having someone guide you. In my mentorship program, we've never seen anyone that takes more than just a few months to recover. Once they really understand, our main focus is to streamline recovery as fast as possible. So these people don't have to figure out, okay, am I doing things right? Am I not? How do I know if this is right? How do I know if it's not? I'm guiding them step by step. So that eliminates so many of the frustrations. So if that's you, if you really want to get out of this the fastest way with the least amount of frustrations, the best way is to really have someone guide you step by step. Now, if you're interested about me guiding you step by step, I'll put a link down below to my mentorship program. In this program, I'm taking people by the hand and I'm taking them to full recovery. The goal is twofold: getting them out and making sure they never fall back into the cycle. And so what I do is I take people by the hand and take them to full recovery. Now, this program isn't for everybody. I'm pretty selective on who I work with, and I'm really focused on long-term freedom. So if that's you, hit the link down below. When you hit the link, it'll show you a short video followed by an application. Once you fill out that application, my team and I will review that application. We'll see if you're a good fit. And if you're a good fit, we'll have a free call with you. We'll have a free consultation, really trying to analyze what's your biggest weaknesses, what's your most debilitating anxiety symptoms, really come up with a strategy for you. And at the end, if it's a good fit, we'll invite you to the mentorship and I will personally get you to recovery. We'll get you out of this together. So if that's you, hit the link down below. I'll see you inside.